I planned the whole thing. Every text, every late-night conversation, every moment of manufactured jealousy. That was me. People keep telling me I'm the victim here, that my sister betrayed me, but they're getting it backwards. I lit the match and handed them the gasoline. Now my mother won't speak to me, my sister has a restraining order, and Ethan's sweet, trusting Ethan blocked me on every platform imaginable. The truth is, I couldn't stand watching Claire get everything I lost. And what I did about it will make you understand why I belong in a therapist's office, not a confessional booth. I'm going to tell you exactly how I weaponized an open relationship to destroy my sister's life, and why the worst part isn't what you think. The real sin came before Ethan ever touched her. 2 years ago, I miscarried at 14 weeks. The baby had a name already, Layla, and a nursery color scheme of sage green and cream. I spent 3 days in the hospital while my body purged what it had made, and when I came home, the first thing I saw was the invitation to Claire's baby shower. She'd announced her pregnancy the same morning I started bleeding, and somehow her good news had eclipsed my emergency. Mom's text read, "Such a bittersweet day for our family," as if they were equivalent events. I met Ethan 6 months later through a dating app I only downloaded because my coworker swore swipe culture would numb me. He was boring in that stable way, accountant, rock climbing on weekends, fluent in Excel shortcuts. Our first date, he spent 20 minutes describing his favorite national parks while I nodded and drank 2 margaritas. I knew by the time the check arrived that I felt nothing. But his hair was the exact shade of auburn Claire always said she loved, and when he mentioned his architectural design hobby, I saw the opening. "That's so funny," I said, pulling up my phone. "My sister just finished renovating her nursery. Look." I flashed him a picture of Claire's sage green walls, the same color as my unborn daughter's room. Ethan's face lit up. "Wow, she's got great taste. Is she single?" he caught himself. "I mean, is her husband into design too?" I pocketed that moment like a smooth stone, a weapon for later. When he texted that night, I didn't respond for 3 days. When I finally did, I mentioned Claire 3 times in 5 messages. I told him her due date, her nesting instincts, how she'd chosen a name that meant light lumen. I watched his responses grow longer each time her name appeared. Our 5th date, I made my first real move. "Claire's having a home birth," I said, though this was a lie. "Mom thinks I'm selfish for not offering to help more." Ethan rubbed my shoulder. "You should be there for her. Family's everything." The words tasted like copper in my mouth, but I smiled. "You're right, maybe you could come with me. She'd love to meet you." The hook came when I agreed to be exclusive. Ethan asked over takeout Thai, and I paused just long enough to seem contemplative. "Yes," I said, "but I need to be honest. I'm still processing my loss. I might need space sometimes to grieve in my own way." He squeezed my hand, and I saw the trap snap shut. He'd already learned to accommodate my phantom trauma. He'd already learned to make room for what I might need. The first step of my experiment had succeeded beyond expectation. By week 7 of our relationship, I'd engineered 5 separate accidental run-ins with Claire. I left my phone open to her Instagram while Ethan and I cooked dinner, her maternity photos glowing on the screen. I complained about Mom favoring Claire's pregnancy, painting myself as the discarded daughter. Each time, Ethan's sympathy grew, but so did something else. A fascination I could smell, thick and sweet as decay. The second hook detonated when my best friend Mara called me out. "Why do you keep bringing him around her?" she asked over coffee. "It's weird, Max, you're not over your loss and you're parading your new boyfriend in front of your pregnant sister like you're trying to prove something." I laughed too loud. "You're being paranoid. I'm building a family. Isn't that what I'm supposed to do?" I changed the subject, but Mara's question stuck to my ribs like shrapnel. She saw the outline of my plan, even if she couldn't name it yet. The truth bomb dropped 3 months into my relationship with Ethan, when I admitted I'd found his profile by searching for men within a 10-mile radius of Claire's house who listed design as an interest. I only confessed this to myself, late at night, in the Notes app on my phone where I'd started cataloging my research. Subject 4, I typed. Response time to sister-related content 8 minutes average. Emotional availability rating high. Vulnerability to caretaking narratives extreme. Claire's baby arrived in October, a girl she named Lumen Grace. The name punched the air from my lungs. I held the infant exactly once at the hospital while Ethan hovered nearby. "She's perfect," he whispered, and I watched his eyes trace the baby's features with an intensity he never showed me. I texted him that night while he was still driving home, "I'm not sure I can do this. Seeing her with everything I wanted. It's too much." He wrote back immediately, "Tell me what you need, I'm here." What I needed was for him to want what he shouldn't, and he was learning. The hidden action I'd taken earlier, the one that would reframe everything, was simple. I cloned Claire's Facebook Messenger onto my tablet using her old laptop password, Mom's maiden name plus 1234. I read her conversations with her husband, saw the cracks in their marriage, the loneliness between new parent exhaustion. I screenshotted the moments where she admitted feeling invisible. These became my ammunition, my breadcrumb trail for Ethan. "Claire told Mom she feels like a milk machine," I'd say over dinner. "Her husband hasn't touched her in months." I delivered these facts like gossip, but they were mortar for the foundation I was building. Someone discovered part of the truth when Claire's husband, David, found Ethan's climbing gym fob in Claire's diaper bag. A purple keychain, distinctive as a fingerprint. He called me screaming at 2 in the morning. "Tell your whore sister to keep her legs closed," he shouted, and I held the phone away from my ear, a cold smile splitting my face. I didn't defend her. I said, "David, I'm so sorry, let me talk to her." I never did. Instead, I texted Ethan, "David's losing it. He's been drinking. Can you check on Claire?" The situation spiraled exactly as I designed. When I suggested the open relationship, I waited until we'd been drinking wine at my apartment. I'd been reading him passages from Esther Perel's Mating in Captivity for weeks, priming the pump. "I trust you," I said, staring at my hands. "And I think my grief has made me, I don't know, closed off. What if we tried something where I could explore what I've lost and you could too? No secrets." The lie was so exquisite I almost believed it myself. Ethan's face cycled through shock, confusion, and finally, a carefully masked relief. "If you think it would help you heal," he said. The hook was set so deep he couldn't feel the barb. My worst decision yet came 2 weeks later. I'd been planning evidence of Ethan's virtue and Claire's path, screenshots of our texts where I seemed unstable, a recording of me confessing I wasn't sure about our relationship, which I'd staged while home alone. But the real sin was the fake Instagram account I'd made, posing as a concerned friend messaging Claire, "Just thought you should know Ethan seems like a really good guy. Max doesn't seem stable enough for him. You can see it in her eyes." I sent these from a burner phone, a digital ghost haunting my own life. The unexpected spiral happened when David filed for emergency custody, citing Claire's unstable home environment and attaching the anonymous CPS reports I'd filed. The reports detailed concerns about a newborn in a house with revolving male visitors. I'd filed them from the library computer, using Claire's own words about feeling overwhelmed as evidence. When the social worker showed up, Claire called me sobbing. "I don't know who's doing this to me," she cried, and I murmured comfort while scrolling through my spreadsheet of data points. Efficiency rating of emotional manipulation 94. The public exposure detonated at our mother's 60th birthday party. I'd arranged for Ethan's arrival to coincide with David's, a collision I'd orchestrated via text messages from Claire's cloned account. David stormed in, drunk, waving printouts of my anonymous messages to Claire. "Your sister's a fucking psycho," he screamed at me, not Claire. The room went silent. Ethan looked at me, confusion cracking his features. What is he talking about? I opened my mouth, but the defensive justification I'd practiced, some nonsense about protecting Claire, died in my throat. My support system crumbled when Mara walked out mid-party. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered, grabbing her coat. "You're not grieving, Max, you're poisoning people." Watching her leave felt like a phantom limb waking up, nerve endings screaming, but I still had one card left. Someone got hurt by my continued deception when Claire's baby developed a rash that required a hospital visit. The stress of the custody investigation, the anonymous reports, the constant surveillance I'd mounted through a nanny cam I'd installed, as a gift, it all broke Claire down. She fell asleep holding the baby and rolled over, causing the rash. I knew this because I watched the footage, frame 467, timestamp 3:22 a.m. I watched my sister fail in high definition, and I felt nothing but victory. The direct question came from Ethan, 1 week after the birthday disaster. We'd been avoiding each other, but he showed up at my door with the purple keychain in his palm. "Did you want me to sleep with her?" he asked, his voice stripped bare. "All the hints, the open relationship, the way you'd leave us alone together. Max, did you plan this?" I looked at the keychain, at his face, at the truth he was finally seeing. I could have come clean, I should have. Instead, I said, "You're the one who fucked my sister. How is that my fault?" The deflection was automatic, a mechanism more reliable than my own heartbeat. Setting up the biggest revelation, I began drafting the blog post I'd always intended to write. The confessional that would make me the protagonist of my own tragedy. I'd call it the Open Relationship Experiment, a case study in modern heartbreak. I'd publish it under a pseudonym, but I'd embed enough details that Claire would know, that everyone would know. I'd be the woman too progressive for her own good, the wounded sister betrayed by her own experiment. The world would sympathize. They'd send me book deals and podcast invitations. I'd finally have what Claire had: attention. The full confession began at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, when Claire's actual confession, not mine, appeared on my tablet via her clone messenger. She'd written to her best friend, "I think Max wanted this. I think she handed him to me. And I hate her for it, but I also can't stop. He's the only person who sees me as more than a mother." Reading those words, I felt the first genuine emotion in months' triumph. It had worked. She was mine now, just like I'd planned. My sister, the thief of my grief, was finally feeling what I'd felt: replaced, invisible, erased. The most damning detail I revealed to myself, in that same notes app, was that I'd timed the open relationship conversation for the 6-week mark after Claire's delivery. I'd researched postpartum vulnerability windows, read studies on maternal isolation. I'd become an amateur expert in the precise architecture of my sister's weakness. The journal where I tracked it all ran 97 pages. I called it the Leela Project, and each entry was dated with both the calendar day and the number of days since my miscarriage. Day 194, Ethan asked about Claire's breastfeeding schedule. Day 201, David accused her of neglect. Day 208, open relationship initiated. The first major consequence of this revelation hit when I realized Claire had changed her passwords. The clone messenger went dark. My live feed into her unraveling cut off. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by the evidence of my own crimes, screenshots, audio files, spreadsheets, and felt panic for the first time. Not panic that I'd be caught. Panic that I wouldn't see the ending. The final shoe dropped 3 days later when Ethan texted me a single sentence: "I'm in love with her." Not "we hooked up" or "this got complicated." He'd bypassed the physical entirely and gone straight for what I'd actually been engineering: an emotional bomb. And the kicker, the detail that reframed the entire narrative, came in his second text. "She told me about the miscarriage. About Leela. I understand now why you needed this. I forgive you." He thought my experiment was about healing. He thought my loss had broken me so completely that I'd engineered my own replacement out of grief. He'd given me an alibi I hadn't even thought to write for myself. The social worker assigned to Claire's case found my blog draft instead of Claire's computer during the custody home visit. I'd synced it to the nanny cam's cloud storage by mistake. They didn't see a grieving sister. They saw a predator documenting prey. Claire's reputation actually improved as mine disintegrated. She became the brave single mother fighting a malicious smear campaign. I became the cautionary tale, the crazy ex who'd planned her own emotional destruction. My mother gave an interview to a women's magazine about the daughter she lost to jealousy. It got 12,000 shares. I read every comment. I lost my job at the preschool when they found the Leela Project during a routine background check update. "We can't have someone this disturbed around children," the director said, and I almost laughed. I'd been deemed a threat to kids by the same system I'd tried to use to steal one. My landlord evicted me after Mara, my former best friend, now Claire's key witness, submitted my recordings to the police. Not the fake ones. Real ones where I'd bragged about the plan to her drunk at 3 a.m. The social media element exploded when a true crime blogger got hold of the story. They created a timeline that made me look like a sociopath, which I suppose I was. Max the Monster trended for 6 hours. Claire posted a single photo of her daughter with the caption "protected. Loved, safe." It got 2 million likes. I archived the version of me that existed before that post, before I became a verb among internet strangers. "Don't max your relationship," they wrote. But the unexpected consequence I hadn't anticipated was my own emptiness. The victory I'd engineered felt like ash. I'd wanted Claire to suffer, but instead she'd been lifted up by my destruction. I'd wanted Ethan to see her as I did, a thief of attention, but instead he'd fallen in love with her resilience. I'd become the villain in a story I'd meant to star in. The genuine self-awareness broke through during a court-ordered therapy session when the therapist said, "You didn't want your sister to fail, Max. You wanted her to feel what you felt, but you've just been alone with your pain this whole time." I threw my coffee cup at the wall. Now I'm living in a studio apartment paid for by the last of my savings. I work at a call center where no one knows my name, let alone my story. I see a therapist who uses words like pathological grief and maladaptive coping. I nod and write checks and wait for the day I don't feel like I'm still bleeding from a wound that closed 2 years ago. I'm telling you this now because yesterday, Ethan posted a photo. In it, he's holding Lumen at the park, her tiny hand wrapped around his finger. Claire stands just behind them, out of focus but unmistakable. The caption reads, "Learning what family means." They look whole, they look right, and for the first time I understand that my entire experiment was never about revenge. It was about creating something that could survive my own toxicity, even if it meant I couldn't be part of it. I built them because I knew deep down that Ethan was too good for me and Claire was too good for the life I wanted to ruin. So here I am, confessing. Not because I'm healed, not because I'm sorry in any way that would matter, but because someone should know that I didn't lose my boyfriend to my sister. I gave him away. I gave him away because watching them become what I destroyed felt better than watching them pity me. That's the real sin, the one that makes me unforgivable. I preferred being a monster to being forgot. You can judge me now. I know I would. I'd read this story and think, that woman belongs in prison, not therapy. Maybe you're right. But before you decide, ask yourself this: if you'd lost everything and no one noticed, how far would you go to make them finally look? I didn't just want them to see my pain. I wanted to become the architect of theirs. And in that sick, twisted way, I finally got what I wanted. They'll never forget me now.